I was the sterling heiress, missing for 18 years. The day my birth parents found me, I was staring at my university acceptance letter. Their brows furrowed the moment they saw the name of the school. To think, after everything you've been through, you got into Columbia just like our Annabelle. You didn't cheat, did you? I slowly looked up. Are you saying your daughter cheated to get in? I always knew the people who raised me weren't my real parents, but I never imagined I was a kidnapping victim, let alone the lost daughter of a powerful dynasty. That day, I was sitting on our worn-out sofa, excitedly reading my acceptance letter. Suddenly, a pair of impeccably dressed middle-aged people burst in and pulled me into a tight embrace. Their voices trembled as they asked, "Are you Isabella Sterling?" My eyes drifted over their faces before I gave a hesitant nod. Just then, the woman caught sight of the letter in my hand and gasped. "My God, is that an acceptance letter to Columbia? To get into the same university as our Anna, from a place like this? You couldn't have managed that through honest means, could you?" The man's brow tightened at her words, his eyes flashing with disdain. Then, a delicate voice drifted in from the doorway that I couldn't help but look at. A young man and woman stood there, their faces masks of contempt as they scanned the room. "Julian, it's so dark in here. I'm scared. And there are spiderwebs. It's disgusting." The young man looked down at her, his voice a low comfort. "Just a little longer, Anna. Then we'll go home." The atmosphere turned heavy. Seeing this, the woman rushed to make introductions. "We're your biological parents, and those are your older brother and sister." She beckoned them inside. The girl's reluctance was painted all over her face, so the young man stepped into the room alone. He pressed his lips together, his gaze a complicated storm as it landed on me. "I'm Julian. I'm your brother. When you were 5, our nanny kidnapped you and sold you to this family. She's been arrested and is serving time in prison now." More than the mystery of my own past, I was captivated by the expression on the girl in the doorway. Her face had gone white the moment he mentioned the nanny, her teeth digging into her lower lip as her eyes reddened. Julian seemed to notice it too. He cleared his throat uncomfortably and added, "Anna is innocent in all of this. She's the nanny's daughter, but she never knew a thing." That's right. We've raised her for all these years. Anna is our daughter." The woman who had been clutching my hand instantly let go, rushing to the doorway to stroke the girl's head with infinite love. They clung to each other, a picture so warm it felt wrong to interrupt. Annabelle's birth mother, jealous of a life she could never have, had kidnapped me as a child and sold me off to the mountains. Then, she dropped her own daughter at a private adoption agency. She conspired with the director to ensure that when the Sterlings came looking to adopt, they would choose her child, who would then live a life of unimaginable wealth. But the truth has a way of coming out. The agency was investigated for financial fraud, bringing down everyone involved. The nanny, who had been the director's lover, couldn't escape the net. Once the Sterlings found out, they followed the thread, and it quickly led them here. My adoptive parents were simple mountain folk with little education. They had no idea that buying a child was a crime. When the Sterlings threatened to call the police and have them thrown in jail, their legs gave out and they collapsed to their knees. The Sterlings showed no mercy. In the end, I was the one who had to bargain with my own future, making them promise not to press charges. That day, with the lost and reluctant eyes of my adoptive parents on me, I stepped into a luxury car and was driven away. In the car, my birth mother's face was a thundercloud, laced with a grim sort of displeasure. I knew she was angry that I had sided with my adoptive parents. As if it were some kind of betrayal. I didn't care. My connection to these people was as thin as water. The only reason I agreed to go with them was to secure my spot at university. My adoptive family was poor. Getting me through high school had been a monumental effort for them. 4 years of college tuition was a mountain they could never hope to climb, but for the Sterlings, it was nothing. I had to fight for a better future for myself, like chasing the first light of dawn. Sensing my mother's mood, Annabelle began to console her in that soft, sweet voice of hers. "Mom, she's just young and impressionable. Those country people are the most cunning sort. She was probably manipulated." My mother nodded immediately, as if she'd found an ally. Then, Annabelle turned to me, her face a mask of apology, her voice catching in her throat. "Bella, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault that you had to suffer for all these years." And with that, she covered her face and began to sob. My parents rushed to comfort her. Even Julian, in the driver's seat, kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror with concern. I let out a tsk. The way she was crying, you'd think I was the one who'd done something wrong, not the one who was stolen, that I couldn't help but cut her off. Excuse me, Miss Sterling, perhaps you could wait until I'm out of the car to continue your performance. You've already cried twice since we met. Anyone who didn't know better would think you were the one who got kidnapped. Maybe I should squeeze out a few tears too, so we can all wallow in this ocean of misery together. Annabelle's tears stopped as if a faucet had been turned off. She stared at me with an expression of pure disbelief. Julian shot back angrily, Bella, how can you talk like that? Anna is just deeply concerned for you. No good deed goes unpunished, I guess. Concerned for me? I laughed, a short, sharp sound of contempt. Or concerned her position as the fake heiress isn't quite as stable as she thought? A stone had been dropped into the car. The silence was absolute. When Annabelle finally processed my words, she started defending herself through a fresh flood of tears. Soon her eyes were swollen like ripe peaches, and my parents looked at me with an aching, wounded expression. Anna is a pure, innocent child. She would never think something like that. Bella, you will apologize to Anna at once. I ignored Julian's command. My gaze shifted to the city lights painting streaks across the window. Cars flowed like shooting stars, and the streetlights bathed everything in a golden, daytime glow. It was a universe away from the mountains, where nightfall meant being swallowed by a darkness so complete it felt like a prison. Once Annabelle's tears subsided, my mother finally spoke, her voice thin and awkward. Bella, we raised Anna. We know her character inside and out. She meant you no harm, you shouldn't misunderstand her. You, on the other hand, have a certain hostility about you. In a family like ours, good breeding is essential. My father chimed in with his support. You should learn from Anna. Don't bring shame to this family. My brother, Julian, just frowned and snorted. We'll be lucky if she doesn't bully Anna. Just hire a tutor to teach her some manners. The displeasure in his voice was thick enough to choke on. Seeing everyone rush to her side, Annabelle started in with her own sanctimonious advice. Bella, I'll be sure to help you get rid of all those bad habits. It's not your fault, really. It's those awful people who raised you, they're the ones who corrupted you. She didn't mention her own mother, the one who actually kidnapped me. Instead, all the blame was shifted to my adoptive parents. Her ambition was painfully transparent, but the Sterlings were all blind. Here's an idea. When we get home, I'll give you a makeover. Mom, Dad, and Julian bought me so many designer cosmetics and handbags. Things you've probably never even seen before. You can take whatever you like. Don't be shy. The moment she finished, my parents began praising how thoughtful she was. Anna truly is our good daughter. Pleased with herself, Annabelle grew even more confident. And if you run into any trouble with your studies, just ask me for help. I know the educational resources in the mountains are lacking. Especially when it comes to, that won't be necessary. I cut her off coldly. It's no problem. I'm already in at Columbia. By the way, maybe you haven't heard of it. It's one of the top universities in the country. Speaking of which, we're the same age. Where did you end up? Or did you not take the SATs? Annabelle clapped a hand over her mouth in feigned shock. When I didn't answer, she put on a show of consoling me. Oh, don't worry about it too much. A degree isn't everything. Besides, our family has enough money that you'll never have to worry. You could choose to do nothing for the rest of your life if you wanted. Amidst the complicated, hesitant expressions on my parents' faces, I calmly pulled out my acceptance letter. Forgive my interruption, but I also had the good fortune of being accepted to Columbia. Annabelle's eyes went wide as saucers. When her gaze fell on my declared major, she froze, as if cursed, muttering impossible, impossible. Under her breath this, of course, sent my parents into a panic, demanding to know what was wrong. Annabelle wouldn't tell them the truth, of course, because my major was in Columbia's most elite program, with an acceptance score so high it was practically celestial. If you need help, I'm willing to offer you some pointers. I flashed the letter at Annabelle's ghost-white face, and my mother immediately shot back, she won't need it. Our Anna's grades are outstanding, and she's a gifted student on top of that. She's far superior to a bookworm like you who only knows how to study. Only knows how to study, It seemed they still had no grasp of what it took to get into a school like that. Their favoritism for Annabelle was so blind it was absurd that I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Under the disapproving glares of the Sterlings, I spoke calmly. If not for my studies, how else would I have made it over the mountains? Getting in is easy, but getting out is hard. For all of this, I have my sister's birth mother to thank. If it weren't for a DNA test, I'd almost suspect Annabelle was your real daughter, and I was just the nanny's kid. The air in the car froze. The silence was a lead weight. Even Julian, who always had a comeback for me, was surprisingly quiet this time. My mother discreetly let go of Annabelle's hand. As for Annabelle, her head was bowed, her hands clenched into tight fists, as if silently enduring some invisible pressure. I sneered that if you don't fight back, they don't stop, they just think you're weak, a lamb for the slaughter. Better to strike back hard, show them your teeth, and make them afraid. By the time we stepped into the Sterling mansion, it was late, but the house was lit up like it was daytime. Someone was even waiting for us by the door. The moment he saw Annabelle, his face broke into a sunny smile and he rushed forward. "Anna, you're back. Was it a long trip?" he asked with deep concern. Annabelle shook her head, then turned to look at me, a strange, meaningful glint in her eye. "It wasn't hard at all. Bringing my sister home makes it all worthwhile." My parents' faces softened with pride at her words. "Mrs. Gable, could you help bring Bella's luggage inside?" my mother called out before disappearing into the house. That left me, Annabelle, and the staff member alone at the door. I watched Annabelle hand her own purse to Mrs. Gable, then shrug nonchalantly, her voice tinged with amusement. "Mrs. Gable is very busy. You can carry your own bags inside." Before the words had even settled, she had swept into the house with Mrs. Gable, leaving me standing alone on the doorstep. Just as I was about to drag the suitcase in myself, a hand shot out and grabbed the handle before I could. I turned to see Julian. He gave me a flat, emotionless look, his tone laced with provocation. "Are you planning to stay out here and play doorman?" The first order of business for the Sterlings was to change my name, and my mother was the most insistent. "You're a Sterling daughter, you can't go by Sullivan. We've already chosen a name for you, Summer. It complements Annabelle's name perfectly." The whole family seemed pleased with this choice, waiting only for my approval. I didn't agree. Instead, I chose a new name for myself, a quiet declaration of my independence. Bella Sterling. The treasured jewel of the Sterling family. It has a nice ring to it. When they fell silent, I added another sentence, my decision as unshakable as stone. If you feel the name Annabelle no longer suits her, perhaps she should change hers. After all, her original name wasn't Annabelle, was it? Annabelle's eyes welled up, a faint red rim forming around them. My parents stopped insisting. They nodded quickly, like leaves in the wind. "Fine, fine. If you want to be called Bella Sterling, then Bella Sterling it is." The battle of the name ended with my victory. I knew Annabelle now saw me as a thorn in her side. It was only a matter of time before she tried to trip me up. And sure enough, she didn't wait long to start her scheming. After the name change, the Sterlings threw me an 18th birthday party. In reality, it was a way for me to get acquainted with the family's social circle, so I wouldn't embarrass them later. And my parents hired a team of stylists who transformed me into a star. The jewels around my neck were my mother's personal treasures, pieces Annabelle had apparently begged for multiple times but was always denied. Unsurprisingly, I saw the raw jealousy blazing in her eyes. Since I was the guest of honor, my parents led me around, introducing me to the guests one by one, while Annabelle followed quietly behind like a shadow. The moment my parents announced we were free to mingle, Annabelle linked her arm through mine. "Come on, sis, let me introduce you to some people our own age. Our parents can network with their friends, and we'll network with ours." I was about to refuse, but my mother spoke up first. "Yes, let your sister show you the ropes. It will do you a world of good." Looking at Annabelle's earnest, "I'm only trying to help you" expression, I could practically see the sinister plot brewing behind her eyes. But so what? I wasn't some pushover. I followed Annabelle out to the open-air pool, where a swarm of rich kids and heiresses immediately descended upon us. They greeted Annabelle with the warmth of a summer sun. "Who's this?" A voice, sharp with displeasure, cut through the crowd. Everyone's eyes snapped to me. "Anna, don't tell me this is another one of your family's charity cases from God knows where." Someone recognized me. "She's the Sterlings' long-lost daughter. The one they just found." Hearing this, a few of the girls circled me, their eyes sharp as hawks, looking me up and down. So you're the hick from the sticks. I'm warning you, Anna is the real Miss Sterling here. You're just an outsider who happens to share some blood. Know your place. The red-haired girl punctuated her sentence with a shove. Annabelle immediately jumped in front of me, playing the role of protector, and said to the group, Bella is my sister. Stop bullying her. Who cares about being Miss Sterling or not? All I want is for my sister to be happy. Her saccharine performance immediately evoked their sympathy. They rallied around her like loyal knights. Anna, you're just too kind. People from her background are the most manipulative. She's definitely going to try and take everything from you when she gets the chance. Exactly. You treat her like a sister, but she won't see you as one. Annabelle, if you want to teach her a lesson, just say the word. We've got your back. Basking in their support, Annabelle finally got around to defending me. You all shouldn't be like this. If you really consider me a friend, you should be nice to Bella. Otherwise, I'll get angry. Her kindness moved them all to the verge of tears. One of the sycophants even dragged me in front of Annabelle, trying to force me to my knees to promise I would never compete with her for anything. I looked at him with cold eyes and calmly threw out a single sentence. Why don't you get on your knees first and beg for my forgiveness? Before the flatterer could even react, I kicked him straight into the pool. I had to admit, all those years of farm work had given me some serious strength. The crowd erupted into chaos, scattering like frightened birds to keep their distance from me. When the sycophant was hauled out of the water, he charged at me like an angry bull, his fist raised to strike. I calmly took out my phone and tapped the screen to start recording them. My voice was gentle as I reminded them. I've just connected my phone to the large screen over there via Bluetooth. Would you all like me to provide a live broadcast of this? The sycophant's charge came to an abrupt halt, his eyes were daggers. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention. Your earlier insults and threats. I've recorded all of them. Your parents have probably heard everything by now. The faces of those who had just been so aggressive instantly turned sheet white. Then, the adults started to gather, including my parents, and Julian, surprisingly, walked straight to my side and pulled me behind him, as if he were my shield. Seeing this, Annabelle's face went pale. She bit her lip, staring in disbelief. This time, Julian didn't rush to comfort her. He didn't even spare her a glance. My parents also looked at her with reproachful eyes. Annabelle started to panic, stumbling over her words as she tried to explain. Finally, the tears came, making her look pitiful and wronged. Mom, Dad, Bella is my sister. I would never let anyone hurt her. If you don't believe me, then I guess I have no choice but to leave this family. My mother's heart softened. She gently took Annabelle's hand. Don't be ridiculous. This will always be your home. How could you talk about leaving? This has nothing to do with you. Don't worry yourself over it. My father nodded in agreement. Annabelle finally stopped crying, curling up against my mother like a docile kitten. Watching it all unfold, I felt a deep sense of irony, as if I were watching a ridiculous play. The other kids were led over by their respective parents to apologize to me. Bella, is it? My son has a big mouth. Please don't take it to heart. I'll teach him a good lesson when we get home. Yes, niece Bella, your auntie here apologizes. My daughter has no manners. I'll be cutting off her credit cards when we get home. Everyone made their position clear. I knew they were only giving me face because of the Sterling's and my parents' expressions had visibly relaxed, so my father began to smooth things over. All right, they're just kids having a bit of fun. Bella, let's just let this go. Okay, I nodded. But an apology is still necessary, right? Of course, the elders quickly agreed. All of you, come over and apologize to Miss Sterling. Wait a moment. The apology I have in mind is a little more than just saying I'm sorry. At my words, all eyes focused on me. So, niece Bella, how would you like them to apologize? One of the men asked cautiously. Serving drinks should be second nature to them by now, right? After all the time they've spent as her entourage. I glanced at Annabelle at my side and smiled, and so, under the watchful eyes of the entire party, the group began serving refreshments like performers on a stage. I decided to quit while I was ahead. I gave a little wave of my hand. That's enough. I'm a magnanimous person. I'll forgive you all this time. Seeing the looks on their faces, as if they just swallowed a fly, I almost laughed out loud. From that day on, Annabelle stopped making trouble for me. She even acted more sincere than ever before. Just as I was starting to think she'd changed, I discovered she was digging an enormous pit for me to fall into. One day, Annabelle came to my room before I could even speak. She fell to her knees in front of me, her voice trembling with sobs. "Bella, can you please ask Mom and Dad to forgive her? Her health is failing, she won't survive in prison. I heard your life with them wasn't all that bad. At least they never hit or cursed you. So can you find it in your heart to show a little kindness and forgive my mother?" Her words were so shameless they were almost comical that I was about to tear into her. But Annabelle suddenly rushed to the window and started to climb out onto the ledge. Before I could react, a crowd of people flooded into the room, their screams shattering the quiet. "Anna, get down from there. It's too dangerous. Darling, Anna, don't scare your mother like this." Seeing this, I understood everything. Annabelle was directing her own little play, trying to frame me, and sure enough, when they couldn't talk her down, they all turned their accusing eyes on me, especially my parents. And my mother's brow was deeply furrowed as she questioned me. "Did you say something to provoke Anna? Ever since you came back, there hasn't been a moment of peace in this house. I'm truly starting to regret bringing you home." See, in their hearts, Annabelle would always be more important than their actual daughter. I took a deep breath and explained slowly. Annabelle asked me to sign a victim impact statement to reduce her mother's sentence. I refused, so she's threatening me like this. My parents paused, looking at Annabelle with doubt in their eyes. Annabelle's eyes immediately filled with tears, her voice a low, choked sob. "As her daughter, there's nothing I can do. I feel so ashamed. I don't feel like I deserve to live. It's understandable that Bella is unwilling. I plan to use my life to atone for my sins." With that, she turned to face the view outside the window. My parents panicked. They didn't have time for anything else, they just urged me to agree. "After all, your life there was tolerable. Just let it go. Anna's life is more important than anything." My father nodded in agreement. "Anna is a sterling now. It wouldn't look good for her to have a mother in prison, especially with her starting university. I think we should just drop the matter. What do you say, Bella?" Though it sounded like a question, his tone left no room for debate. I knew any argument was useless, so I simply lifted my shirt, revealing the long, jagged scar across my waist. They fell silent. I pointed to the scar. "This is what you call tolerable? Do you have any idea how many times I was sold?" 4 times. The first time, the woman of the house was mentally unstable. She came at me with a sickle. My clothes were soaked red with blood. I was lucky to survive. The next was an old man who crept into my bed in the middle of the night and tried to tear my clothes off. If his wife hadn't woken up, you know exactly what would have happened to me. The third time, the couple used their fists on me. To this day, my old injuries still ache whenever it rains. It wasn't until the 4th time that I met my kind adoptive parents. I was already 10 years old by then. Which means for 5 long years, my life was a living hell. So what right do you have to ask me to forgive? In the end, my parents' faces were grim. They fell silent. They stopped trying to persuade me and turned their attention to patiently consoling Annabelle. Eventually, Annabelle climbed meekly down from the window ledge and my parents pulled her into a loving embrace, sternly warning her never to do anything so foolish again, and I was the clown left in the corner, completely ignored. The absurd drama finally came to a close. A few days later, my adoptive mother called and my adoptive father had been taken away by the police for purchasing a child. The moment I heard the news, my first suspect was Annabelle. I immediately went to confront her. To my surprise, she admitted it without any pretense. The people who sell children get arrested, so why should the people who buy them get to walk free? Bella, if my life is miserable, I'm going to make sure yours is too. Seeing the panic on my face only made her more triumphant. Her eyes were filled with a crazed hatred. "Those scars on your body are the best evidence. I've pinned all the blame on your adoptive parents. They're going to prison." I knew the only people who could fix this were the Sterlings. I grabbed her by the wrist and started pulling her out of the room. "You're going to go and confess everything to Mom and Dad right now." Annabelle, of course, was not going to give up so easily. We struggled with each other all the way to the top of the stairs. Annabelle seemed to catch sight of something. Suddenly, her body went limp, like a puppet with its strings cut, and she fell backward. Behind her were 2 flights of stairs, more than a dozen steps in total. A fall like that would be catastrophic. I instinctively reached out to grab her. In that split second, Annabelle shot me a faint smile. As I froze, she threw herself down the stairs as if pushed by an invisible hand. I never imagined she would resort to such a measure to frame me. The scene erupted in screams as people rushed over. I stumbled down the stairs. I was about to open my mouth to explain, but my father kicked me aside and my body hit a pillar with a sickening thud, a sharp pain blooming in my chest. Tears welled up involuntarily, salty and bitter as they ran into my mouth. Then, my mother's panicked voice hit my ears like a thunderclap. "Oh my God, somebody call 911. My daughter fell down the stairs." Through my blurred vision, I saw my parents choose Annabelle without a moment's hesitation. Soon, Annabelle was taken to the hospital, and the surrounding chaos gradually subsided. I sat on the cold floor, a chill seeping into my bones. Just then, Julian rushed home. He stopped short when he saw me, as if looking at a ghost. I explained to him that I didn't push Annabelle, that she threw herself down the stairs. Julian was silent, his brow furrowed like a stormy sky. After a moment, he turned his face away and said awkwardly, "Anna isn't that kind of person. She wouldn't do that. It must have been an accident." I shouldn't have expected anything from them. In their hearts, Annabelle was their daughter and their sister. I didn't say another word. I just lowered my head. I hadn't planned on visiting Annabelle, but thinking of my adoptive father, I followed Julian to the hospital. As we neared the door to her room, a weak, coquettish voice drifted out. "Mom, I really can't eat anymore. Just leave it there for now." "Dad, you've said it a dozen times. It doesn't hurt anymore." My mother's gentle tone was a warm caress. "Just a little more. You have a fracture, you need to build up your strength. I've already had Mrs. Gable make some soup. You'll drink some when she brings it later. Be a good girl." I hid the bitterness in my heart and forced a smile. The moment I appeared, my parents' expressions hardened, their tone sharp as a winter wind. My biological father glared at me as if I were his mortal enemy. My biological mother gave me a fleeting glance before turning back to comfort the person in the bed. "Anna, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad are here. No one is going to hurt you." My father demanded that I bow my head and apologize to Annabelle, and promise never to bully her again. "Otherwise, you can leave the Sterling family, and we'll pretend we never had you as a daughter." I wasn't concerned. The start of the semester was just around the corner anyway. I had no intention of staying long in a family like this, but before I left, I had to solve my adoptive father's problem. I swallowed the words of defense I was about to say. "I'll leave. But you have to release my adoptive father first." They seemed to know nothing about it, their faces filled with confusion. After I explained, they cast a strange look at Annabelle, but in the end, they didn't say much. They were protecting her, of course. "So you pushed Anna down the stairs because of this?" My father stared at me sternly. I didn't understand how he could be so biased towards Annabelle when I was his real daughter. I denied it, but he didn't believe me. In their eyes, Annabelle was a fragile, kind girl who could never do something to frame me. At that moment, Annabelle began to feebly defend me. "Dad, I just fell by accident. It has nothing to do with my sister. Please don't blame her. It's just a fracture and a minor concussion. I'll be fine after a few days' rest. There's no need to fight because of me." Annabelle's thoughtfulness immediately tugged at their heartstrings, and my father ordered me to kneel before Annabelle as a sign of apology. "Otherwise, your adoptive father can just stay in jail." Without a moment's hesitation, I knelt. Annabelle finally showed a satisfied expression. With her mood improved, my parents naturally dropped the matter of my adoptive father. The next day, my adoptive mother called to tell me my adoptive father was safe. The news was a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. I owed them a debt I could never repay. I would never let them get into trouble because of me. At the end of the call, my adoptive mother quietly asked if I was happy with the Sterlings. I was silent for a long time. The other end of the line was just as silent. If you want to come home, we'd always have you, as long as you don't think we're not good enough." Her voice was cautious, as if she was afraid I would reject her warmth. "Okay." My reply was clear as spring water, and a series of affirmations immediately came from the other end. After hanging up, I saw Julian standing in the doorway, Looking as if he wanted to say something. I knew he was here to persuade me to accept my fate. I ignored him and continued packing my things. I didn't have much. It didn't take long to finish. I didn't take a single thing that belonged to the Sterlings. Are you really going to be this stubborn? Abandoning your own parents and brother? Hearing Julian's words, I smiled faintly. They abandoned me first. Julian, on the matter of Annabelle, do you believe me or her? Julian didn't answer, but I already knew the truth. I shrugged, a gesture of contempt. I didn't hesitate to expose his hypocrisy. No matter what, the only person you all trust is Annabelle. And that's the real reason I'm leaving. Since you already have my replacement, you shouldn't have bothered to come looking for me. Julian didn't try to persuade me further. He left with a trace of embarrassment on his face. With Annabelle still in the hospital, it was just me and Mrs. Gable in the house. Mrs. Gable had a family emergency and asked if I would mind if she prepared dinner early, for me to heat up later. She seemed very uneasy making the request. Seeing my silence, she quickly added, if it's not convenient, could you please not mention this to Mr. and Mrs. Sterling? When I nodded, she breathed a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to turn and leave, my voice stopped her. Please prepare dinner as soon as you can, Mrs. Gable. I'm starving. A grateful smile bloomed on her face. She quietly told me that the eye by the staircase, the security camera, saw everything. That day, I actually saw what happened. But you understand, I'm just an employee, so self-preservation is a basic instinct for most people. I held no grudge against her for it, but I had to admire Annabelle's methods. To frame me, she was willing to risk her own life time and time again. In the end, I didn't use the footage to clear my name. Annabelle was a better fit for the Sterling family than I ever was. The next day, Annabelle returned home just as I was carrying my luggage downstairs. Without a moment's hesitation, they all moved to shield Annabelle, as if they were afraid I might hurt her. The gesture was so ironic it was almost funny. My father asked if I was really determined to leave. Are you really willing to give up the comfortable life you have now? Don't come crying back when you regret it. I looked him straight in the eye and answered, word by word, I will never regret it. No, words aren't enough. We're not heartless people. I'll give you $500,000. We'll sign a contract. From this day forward, you have no connection to the Sterling family. The moment the words were out of his mouth, my father had someone print the document. Julian looked like he wanted to say something, but my mother stopped him. In the end, just as they wanted, I signed my name and left the Sterling family behind. The Sterlings kept their promise, wiring $500,000 to my account. Given my adoptive parents' poor health and advanced age, I transferred half of the money to them and used the other half for my education during my 4 years at university. I had no contact with any member of the Sterling family, except for Julian. Annabelle gave up her spot at Columbia and went to study abroad. We never saw each other again. Thanks to my stellar academic record, I was accepted directly into a graduate research program and had the honor of joining my advisor's research project. Surprisingly, one of the investors in the project was my father, Richard Sterling. He looked quite shocked when I appeared before him that night. Julian called, asking if I would be willing to attend my mother's birthday party. Mom's health hasn't been good these past few years, and she has some regrets, he said, a note of helplessness in his voice. I was about to refuse when I caught sight of a woman walking into the hotel on my father's arm. The woman was not my mother. After some inquiries, I learned that she was my father's mistress. I heard she used to be a nanny for the Sterlings. The woman is quite clever. A nanny, it made me think of Annabelle's birth mother. The next day, I called Julian back and told him I would attend the party. Julian then informed me that Annabelle would also be there. I told him enough time had passed and I didn't mind seeing her. Julian didn't say anything more, he just sent me the time and location. Staring at the information on my phone, I decided to give them all a little surprise. The birthday gala was held at a luxurious hotel, glittering under 1,000 lights. When I appeared, my father's face darkened. I chose to ignore him. His expression was about to get much, much worse. Eleanor Sterling's 50th birthday was a major event. All the family's friends, relatives, and business partners were there. Annabelle, who I hadn't seen in years, was also in attendance, dressed to the nines. Her clique of friends saw me and immediately started making a scene on her behalf. Didn't you sever all ties with the Sterlings? What are you doing here? Don't tell me you regret it and came back to fight for the inheritance. Anna, you have to be careful. The murmurs grew louder. I knew their words were meant for me to hear. Seeing my composure, Annabelle couldn't hold back any longer. She glided over to me, her eyes sharp, demanding to know why I was there. Didn't you already take the money and cut ties with the family? Are you having second thoughts now? As a matter of fact, I am full of regret. I regret not exposing your hypocritical mask sooner. With that, the ballroom erupted. Everyone's eyes shot to the large screen at the center of the stage. The security footage of Annabelle framing me on the stairs was playing for all to see. I had made a backup before leaving the Sterlings all those years ago, never thinking it would actually come in handy. Annabelle froze. Looking like a cornered animal, she shot a desperate, pleading look at my father. My father, furious, immediately ordered someone to shut off the video, then charged down from the stage, his hand raised to strike me, but I sidestepped him easily. Seeing this only enraged him further. He called for security to throw me out. Not so fast. Let me present my gift first, then I'll be on my way. I took a stack of printed photos from my purse and handed them out to everyone in the room. Mr. Sterling is truly a man of many talents. A happy home, and a mistress on the side. To give his illegitimate daughter a better life, he even conspired with his lover to have his own legitimate daughter kidnapped. The entire room exploded in an uproar. My mother, of course, recognized the woman in the photos. She slapped my father hard across the face. Her gaze then fell on Annabelle, who looked so much like both her husband and the nanny, and the shock was too much. She collapsed to the floor. The party came to an abrupt end. From the very beginning, I had my doubts about Annabelle's identity. Her resemblance to my father was uncanny, combining that with the fact that I had once accidentally witnessed my father. With the nanny, I hired someone to investigate. And just as I suspected, Annabelle was the illegitimate daughter of my father and the nanny. To give her daughter a better life, the nanny devised the plan to kidnap me. My father initially refused, but under his lover's constant pressure, he eventually relented. In short, he was instrumental in my abduction. A month later, I heard news of the Sterlings again. My father was arrested for financial crimes and his involvement in a child trafficking case. His nanny and mistress were also taken into custody. When my mother woke up, she filed for divorce without hesitation. I was surprised to see my mother and Julian at my door. Their faces were etched with exhaustion and guilt, a stark contrast to their polished appearance just a month before. I had no idea how they found me, but I felt nothing. My mother expressed her deep regret for her past actions and begged for my forgiveness. I've thrown Annabelle out of the family. Bella, you are my only daughter. Julian nodded in agreement beside her. Bella, we truly know we were wrong. Please come home. I reminded them that the matter between us was settled, signed, and sealed. I have no connection to you, or to the Sterling family. In the end, they stopped trying to persuade me, but told me the door was always open if I ever wanted to come home. I didn't give them an answer. In my third year of working, I took out a loan and bought a house, moving my adoptive parents in to live with me later. I got married on that day. Julian came alone. He wished me a lifetime of happiness, and he handed me a bank card. This is a wedding gift from Mom. This time, I didn't refuse.